Morning guys, Mark Ferrasci, Pro-Tech Dog Training, on the road at 5:36. I got up this morning and heading down to the Police Scenerio group to go work the dogs. Talk a little bit more about the e-collar, because I go back and I watch my videos and I kind of see that I use the wrong terminology here. I could have said it better, that kind of thing. So I kind of want to go over that a little bit. We talked about collar conditioning, right? And so it's a three-way turn-off. Now, you see all kinds of people using it online. There's some pretty good trainers, Larry Crone, Tom Davis in New York. I mean, these guys have done the same thing I'm doing. They've got their digital magic. Larry doesn't have much digital magic, but Tom Davis does, and he's been doing real good videos. And some people have that ability, and some people don't. But digital magic doesn't make the trainer. I've said that before, but the bottom line is it's kind of nice when you have that you can follow around. I watched Tom's last night. But the one thing I wanted to kind of emphasize is nobody's inventing this stuff from the get-go, guys. This stuff has been done since the 70s. When I just first started getting into training, collars were like a brick. They were more of an actual electric collar back in the day, and there was a lot of negativity involved with them. It's the humans' misconception, because they right away think of electricity. How many years they've been watching, all their life they've been watching TV, and they see Frankenstein getting shocked, you know, and it's just awareness coming from that kind of thing. And from an early age, you're put in your brain that this is a negative, unless electricity is dangerous. They're fearful of it. You ever stick your finger in the socket? And I mean, all these stuff that happens, electricity is to be respected. And so that's a very natural thing. The human nature is to have a negative association towards electric. Reality and truth is that these new collars they have now, with the ability to go from a 0 to the doctor's up to 120 some odd. Mine only goes to 100. I don't feel I need anymore, but you know, it's all well and good. Allow you to have the variance to be able to dial it in to a degree that you don't need to use it in a punishment way, right? The old Tritronics for years for 1 to 7, and Garmin now still makes that same unit where it's a 1 to 7, which means that the levels are more of a what I call a trash breaker, meaning that it has a punishment factor to it that can be used in certain instances, but it turns that collar into more of a one-dimensional tool. Because if I only have 1 through 7, it means the gradients are, you know, you're looking at levels that actually cause a punishment, right? That being the case, it's not as conducive, and it's not being used like I would, or Tom Davis, or Larry Crone's. We're using it on low stimulation, and we're teaching the dog to turn it off, right? So the way that you break in the collar, you've seen in my last couple of videos, is that you're hitting the button right when you say the dog's name, or right when you ask for a behavior, and then right when the dog complies, the stimulation goes away, right? And so the dog you're giving the power to the dog. He's learning that when he complies with something that he already knows, that stimulation goes away. Bottom line, just watching a video this morning, Larry's working with a Great Dane, and he's doing the same thing I am, trying to educate you folks, trying to make you realize the positive attributes of a tool that, if used properly, is so powerful and so ability to do so many things. Your ability to be able to have the tone and the vibration and all the things that you can do with these collars nowadays with proper conditioning and understanding how to condition an animal, and really getting a fine-tuned ability in that regards. And that's what you hear me keep saying: the tool's only as good as the person using it. So all these idiots that are out there that you hear these stories of them frying the dog and using punishment, they're totally blowing purple Twinkies, as I like to say, and they're doing something they shouldn't do, and they're giving a bad name to the tool because they're idiots, right? It's not the tool, it's the idiot using the tool, right? So that really, it angers me, and it's got me up in arms. You know, it really does, because you have somebody like Ivan that comes in and tries to mystify people with a lot of big words, and go back into the history of the 1900s and try to tell y'all, and he doesn't even know how to explain it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know how to verbalize in that respect. It really irritates the hell out of me. That's why I say my opinion about Ivan is one of the worst trainers I've ever seen as far as teaching. His ability to educate is tip. Okay? Now, he's a hell of a trainer when he gets out there on the field with his dog and be able to condition that dog for trial day and to be able to win those titles. You can't take nothing away from him. He's a hell of a trainer in regards to having that ability to be in tune with his animal and to condition that animal for a competition. Ivan's one of the world's best. You cannot take that away from him. So it is neither here nor there, but when he throws a rock into the friggin' pond and makes a ripple like he did, he deserves to be called out on it. And there's a couple trainers that are doing their best to kind of try to point it back in his direction and make him realize he's wrong. Because he needs to go after the general public and make them realize that buying that item off the shelf without professional help and just being a layman that doesn't even understand how to condition an animal properly, that's where you fail. Because it takes knowledge to understand. It's only an extension of leash. It takes knowledge for me to understand how to condition an animal and years of experience doing what I do that allow me to be pretty good at what I do. Okay? Then I take pride in being a good teacher, and to pass that knowledge on to the public and to my clients is important to me, right? And that's just a matter of being able to communicate, to learn how to say the things the right way so that your customers can understand what they need to do, right? And if they're willing to put the work in and they weren't willing to get off that couch to learn and grow and put the hard work that they needed to put to build that relationship with their animal, they're going to go far with a good trainer, okay? So that's all it really takes. So one of the terminology I didn't use that is a better way of saying it, one of that came from Michael Ellis, is what we call collar conditioning, is what we call layering in the collar. Meaning you're basically taking something the dog already knows and you're now teaching him what the collar means in association to the things that he already knows, okay? You're not teaching him anything new. How long have you heard Larry say that? He's not teaching anything new. He's reaffirming to the dog that when he complies, that this little signal, that's all it is, will go away, right? And then, as time goes along, we have the ability, now that the dog understands it, doesn't have the confusion anymore of what this weird sensation is, you now have the ability to bump it up a little bit, give a little tap, and give him in a correction mode that, hey, you should have done this. And that's all about basically the dog's distractions. And when I get into this, and this is something you guys need to hear again, I've said it a bunch of times, but I'll say it again. The collar is a lot like a child. And the child's sitting on the couch, he's watching TV. That's called the child Joey. Joey's sitting on the couch, engrossed in his TV, and his concentration's totally into that TV show. And you want Joey to take out the trash. Say, Joey, I need you to take out the trash. Joey doesn't hear you because he's so in tune with that trash. That's all his mind is in. His mind is so locked in that he doesn't hear you. Say, Joey, I need you to take out the trash. Joey still doesn't hear you, right? You finally get so frustrated, you walk up to Joey and you smack him upside the head. You go, Joey. Joey goes, what the hell? What are you doing? Right? That's the same thing with environment with a dog, right? His brain gets into smelling, gets into maybe seeing something that attracts his attention, and his attention goes into that, and he no longer is aware of the stimulation that would be something he would be aware of in a different situation. Here's a good example of that. You always hear us talking about neutral lab. Neutral lab is an area that you work the dog every day, he's familiar with, and there's very few, if any, distractions, okay? That's a very good place to be working your animal when they're first learning something, because they're in a learning state of mind and it's very conducive to them learning and growing. But as you go along, you start adding distractions, you start making them work under distractions and saying, you still got to pay attention to me. You can't let your brain float to those other things. That's what you hear us talking about when we say working the dogs under distractions, right? So when you start to increase that, you start to increase the distraction levels. Now you may have to bump it up to a level that gets the dog's attention. At first it's neutral lab and all you got to do is tap, tap, tap. The dog goes, oh, I understand what you want me to do. And they're in tune with you, right? But as soon as a distraction comes in, their brain is in a different state of mind and they no longer even notice that you're tapping them on the shoulder. You need to bump it up a little bit and kind of give them a reminder, right? Doesn't mean you need to take it to a punishment level, but you do need to raise it to a level that they will get their attention, and boom, right away reaffirm that yes, that was the right answer. And then they remember that because it was a little more uncomfortable, right? But again, you have the power and the control of these new colors. They have a rheostat on them that keeps them right where they need to be, and then if you need to flow up, you can flow up on the fly. The old colors of the old days when they first started, that's why they didn't work so well. One, they only had 1 through 10, 1 through 7, so the gradients were a lot higher, and then you went into punishment phases real quick. So that wasn't too fair on